Today, Patrick Swayze has every reason to be sitting tall in the saddle. After years of struggling, this 35-year-old Texan has become a hot property in Hollywood, and it all came about with some dirty dancing. He exploded on the screen in one of this year's biggest movies, playing Johnny Castle, a dance instructor who was socially clumsy but physically graceful. And his dance sequences with co-star Jennifer Grey created a sensation around the country. The style was pure Gene Kelly. The sexiness was pure Patrick Swayze. Dirty Dancing left audiences wondering, where did this actor come from? And where on earth did he learn to dance like that? The answer is he didn't start out as an actor at all. From the time he could walk, Patrick Swayze was taking dance lessons in his hometown of Houston. His mother was a dance instructor and choreographer there, and Patrick was one of the stars in her class. From his mother, he got his passion for dance, and from his father, he got his love for horses and the outdoors. In his family, second best was not enough, and Patrick did not stop at dance. He excelled at every sport, track, gymnastics, and football. It was while he was playing football that he badly injured his knee. It was an injury that would later haunt his dance career. He went to New York, where he joined the Joffrey and Harkness dance companies. But soon his injuries forced him to stop dancing, and he then turned to acting. His first big break came in the Broadway musical Grease, replacing John Travolta. And he soon was on his way to Hollywood, where he appeared in a teenage movie called Skate Town, USA, which gave him reviews comparing him to Rudolph Valentino and, oh yes, John Travolta. But Patrick decided not to go the route of a teenage idol. He chose instead to push for films like The Outsiders and the television miniseries North and South. It wasn't until Dirty Dancing, however, that it finally paid off. Patrick's retreat from the fast life of Hollywood is here in his California ranch, nestled in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains. He calls it Rancho Bizarro. And Patrick, who used to work as a carpenter during the lean years, is renovating it throughout, with cathedral ceilings and cedar beams in the living room. This is a man who is still very much a Texas cowboy.
Oh? Got it.
She used to do this as a kid?
Uh-huh.
Yeah? Along with the dancing?
You make a good cowhand.
You're the first one who's ever said that to me.
He loves horses, not only Western ones that he works, but also Arabian stallions.
Good boy, Trot.
But horses aren't the only inhabitants here. There are peacocks, cats, and his prize dogs. Patrick Swayze is a man who does everything with passion and intensity. To prepare for a role in his next film, he spent hours learning kickboxing and doing weight training. And it takes an enormous amount of discipline and bodybuilding to deal with his newest pupil. Well, if you were with Patrick Swayze, what would you ask for? A cooking lesson? He said, let's try the mambo. Okay, no rehearsal, but what a teacher.
Good. Now feel it. Let go into my shoulder. Good. Good. Very good. Give me. You pick up fast.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, well, we all have our fantasies. But this lovely creature is the reality. Patrick's partner in life, his wife, actress-dancer, Lisa Niemi. They first met in his mother's dance studio more than 15 years ago and have been married for 12. It was the dance studio that served as the backdrop for two of the biggest influences in Patrick's life, his wife and his mother. And when we sat down to talk, I asked him about both. Tell me about your mother. She taught you to dance.
Yeah. And she taught me what the meaning of discipline was, in a good way, that you can't waltz through life. You can't expect things to be handed to you on a silver platter, that you got to work for it and be deserving.
But when you were a little kid and your mother said, I'm going to take you in and put you in the dancing studio. In Texas, little boys didn't dance.
No, ma'am.
Okay. How'd you feel about it?
Well, I started so young.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know. I mean, I watched and see what all the other kids were doing and wanted to do it. So I've got pictures of me in sailor suits and tap shoes from the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And everybody tells me I was a little terror. When Mother would be trying to teach, I'd be hanging on the bars, pinching the girls and stuff. And
at the age of 4?
4 to 8, I guess, or actually probably 4 to 18. I was still pinching girls at 18. I thought I was Mr. Casanova, out of insecurity.
Tell me about your father. Here was your mother, ran the dance studio, wanted her kid to dance. How'd your father feel about it?
I always sensed that he was real scared on a certain level, even though he knew different. Scared I would turn gay. There was still, because he was a Texas cowboy. Part of him didn't understand this stuff.
Well, when you're living in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other kids are going off, to play the sport, whatever, the football, the baseball, and you've got your ballet shoes and your tights. Did you ever have to, prove that you were a real Texas kid?
One way or another, I've spent my life proving that. Mm-hmm. I got beat up over and over and over again when I was little, and that wasn't too good. And then it started on a whole process of learning what walking around with a chip on your shoulder means. I'm a ballet dancer, what of it, And then I woke up one day and realized, that I was becoming the very thing I hated.
When was this?
About 20, after I'd gone to New York. So I went to New York, and I was the macho, that was my whole thing. That's what made me...
I'm a macho ballet dancer.
Yeah.
I'm not like the rest of you.
Yeah.
When did dancing become a passion?
When I really, truly committed myself to be a dancer was when the world, doctors, and my mother told me I couldn't do it after my knee was destroyed. For a few years, I had just about an operation a year.
Because of the bad knee?
3-4 years. Yeah.
And kept dancing?
And kept dancing.
So even though everybody sees you as this superb dancer in Dirty Dancing, you know that it's tough, that you really can't do everything that easily.
No. I've become a master at compensation. If you watch me in slow motion, you'll see me take all the pressure, all the weight with that right leg.
Those years in New York, what was the worst time?
I kept going to doctors and found out that I had a staph infection, had to go in the hospital, and they had a week in which to try to save the leg. And if they didn't save it within a week, they'd have to take it off at the hip. And the biggest thing that the knee did was, I thought all I was this, with this.
The dancer,
the
body.
The dancer, the athlete, the machine, not a person.
You said it changed you, that you'd always thought up until then that you were the body, and now maybe there was a mind?
I had to find out. Up to that point, I was scared to look inside for fear that I wouldn't find anything, that my fears would be proven right.
The dancing was over, the acting begins. You come out here, your first film that caused a lot of attention was Skate Town, USA, right? And you got that review that said he's the sexiest thing since Travolta and
Valentino
and so on. And then, not much.
I disappeared. Deliberately walked away because, it just scared me because it was a teen idol kind of thing, and teen magazines were jumping in my face, and I had a 4-picture deal offered in 6 other films, and
you felt you couldn't do it.
I hadn't been studying all my life to throw it down the drain by becoming a face, the very thing I was scared I was anyway.
A face and a tight pair of jeans.
Yeah, and I was willing to bank on that with enough study and enough growth and enough, connection with myself and the truth in me, that I could become an actor to be reckoned with, an actor with respect and not, a personality.
But what courage? You turn around and say, I'm going to become a real actor.
It really...
that takes a lot of guts.
It's like something my manager said, is most people come to L.A. and get off the plane, and that's as good as they ever get.
Yeah.
And Lisa and I have had a passion never to let that happen.
So tell me about Lisa.
She literally is my creative partner. There just feels like there's a real power between us. There feels like there's a real chemistry, like we're soulmates, if you believe in that kind of thing, that we either knew each other before and came together in another life. There's just some intense passion because our fights are huge, and but our love is huge.
Now, this huge success, Dirty Dancing. Did you know that Dirty Dancing was going to be the breakthrough?
No, I didn't. I knew that I was advised not to do it.
Why?
Just in the reading of it, if you didn't really look between the lines.
You were just a sexy dancer.
Yeah, it was a cutesy little movie that, you know.
So why'd you do it?
I felt something for Johnny, the guy from the streets.
Johnny Castle, yeah.
Yeah, a guy from the streets that is fighting to like himself, to believe in himself, to believe he could be something more than what society will allow him to, or what mommy and daddy taught him he could be, or whatever, you know. I just felt like I could do something with this guy.
Why do you think people go to see it? 5 times, 10 times, 20 times?
There is the 100+ Club for Dirty Dancing. Women that have seen it in movie theaters, not on video, in movie theaters over 100 times.
Why?
Everybody dreams that somebody would see into their lonely world that would see past the exterior and see what they're really like. They may not be the pretty people of the world, but big deal. Somebody sees through that and cares about them as a person. And I think that's the biggest thing that this film communicates is a relationship, not because of, you know, how somebody swings their rear, but what's inside.
Today, do you have a philosophy by which you live?
Passion, quality, integrity, and the things that my mommy and daddy taught me about being a Southern gentleman.
Patrick, your father died in 1982. This, I have read, was terribly difficult for you. It wasn't just something that you could accept.
I love that man. You caught me off guard, I'm sorry. My dad and my manager, Bob Lamont, the two most important men in my life, are dead. And I made it after my father died. My passion, that I was going to make that man proud of me till I died. Everything he wanted for me, everything he dreamed about. No, he never got to know.
You made him proud.
Oh, Jesus. Well, that was his problem. He thought crime was weak. Texas mentality.
Have you made him proud, do you think?
I think so. I think the one thing I really wish he could have known is he never got to know that Lisa and I get in this horse business and everything. I always had the dream that I'd buy a ranch and he'd run it, you know? And part of my passion for horses is to honor my father.
I can't think of any more wonderful, loving compliment that you could give him than the way you feel. You know, for the person who has not seen Dirty Dancing, whoever that may be, and who does not know Patrick Swayze and is meeting you tonight for the first time, what do you want them to know about you?
I've always had this problem with wanting to be liked, you know? That I'm a good actor, that I'm someone to be reckoned with, that I can give people something through my work that they see, they make their lives lighter for a moment, or inspired, or passionate about who they are and feeling good about themselves. And I can definitely swing my butt.
Crocodile Dundee.
He is what legends and myths are made of. Crocodile Dundee came from the outback of Australia and found himself in New York City. And if some of his survival techniques, like hypnotizing water buffalo, might not work in New York, others were just the trick on the streets of the city.
Nick, give him your wallet.
What for?
He's got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Crocodile Dundee also made mincemeat out of all box office records and predictions, being the largest grossing foreign film of all time in America. And now its long-awaited sequel, Crocodile Dundee 2, will open later this month throughout the country, when once again Paul Hogan will return to our shores as Mick Dundee. Hogan, too, is what myths and legends are made of. He was a nobody trying to sell his Australian-made movie in a Hollywood that didn't want to give him the time of day. But in the end, he showed them. Approaching 50, he is an unlikely candidate for a sex symbol. He is slight and has thinning hair, but he had caught on here in the States even before Crocodile's invasion.
Oh, and you're going to have to learn to say good day. Because every day's a good day in Australia.
G'day, Paul.
G'day, love.
As the spokesperson for the Australian Tourist Board, with his genuine good eyes and his sincere invitations.
Come and say good day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
It was no wonder that Australia was soon overwhelmed with visitors.
Pay attention.
His laid-back brand of humor is nothing new in his homeland. Paul Hogan began as a man-on-the-street commentator there over a decade ago,
I want to show you a few capers tonight which might help you cope with inflation.
and then quickly got his own show called, appropriately enough, The Paul Hogan Show, in which each week he made audiences laugh at his portrayals of such personalities as Clint Eastwood,
I asked for Sophia Loren.
Rod Stewart, and Hawaii Five-O's Jack Lord. Paul Hogan not only starred in the show, he also wrote it. Even though he was a major celebrity down under long before the success of Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan remains one of the most private personalities working. Paparazzi sneak shots of his home and family, and the only time the public saw his wife of 30 years was when she visited him in the hospital after he suffered a cerebral hemorrhage in 1986. On his release, he summed up his attitude in a press conference.
The 10 years of just sort of privacy I've built up's been destroyed. So I figure I'll talk to everyone here and then I can put the death penalty back on again at home for anyone that comes up the drive.
Perhaps that need for privacy comes from the fact that Paul Hogan's success came very late in life. He left school at 15, was married at 18, and by the time he was 22, he already had 3 kids. And the family later grew to 5 children. He had more than 30 jobs trying to find a way to support that family, one of which was as a rigger on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It was while working high atop that bridge that he entered a talent contest. It was a contest that would change his life.
You always hear the talent will out, that if you've got great talent, somebody's going to discover it. But you spent 30 years with nobody saying this guy should be...
Yeah, but I didn't spend those 30 years sort of auditioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of professionals really resented me when I started because they said he hadn't paid his dues.
Yeah.
But I paid him in the real world,
Yeah. What did you do? What were some of the jobs you had?
Well, all in the blue-collar industry, but, the sort of the water board and the railway and the waterfront, and as everybody sort of knows probably, I ended up working on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which was
Are you a rigger?
a rigger. And that's what I basically worked in for the 10 years before I got into entertainment business, was a rigger, which is high steel erection. And the money was good. And you're always above the crowd and sort of in the open.
And did you think that was it? I'm going to be a rigger all my life?
No, and I didn't know what the alternatives were. It was just, so there was always a sort of bubbling anger there somewhere.
When you talk about a bubbling anger, how did it bubble? How did it show itself? What'd you do?
Oh, throw things or hit people or attack people verbally or physically for no reason when you'd have a period of frustration. It's sort of that being caught in a rut.
You knew you were?
Endless thing, yeah.
I mean, you didn't say this is the way it's supposed to be and,
Well, I never
that's
accepted that was the way it's supposed to be and said, this can't be it. There's got to be something else. I never ever thought about entertainment or being a comedian, show business.
And nobody said to you, gee, you're funny, you should, until later?
No, nobody did. But they were quite surprised when I went on the talent show.
What made you say you were going to go on it?
Well, the show was very cruel. It was a amateur talent getting up there and doing their best like these Star Search type programs.
Yeah.
And a panel of professional entertainers then crucifying them for the benefit of the audience, feeding Christians to the lions. And they thought it'd be nice if one of the Christians got in there and ripped a few lions' heads off. And I did it, and I tore them to pieces, and it was very funny. And naturally, I didn't win the talent quest.
Who won?
Oh, I think in the end, the 15-year-old cello player or something. Something equal.
But it wasn't you.
No. It was the sort of the people kept me there.
Then you go back and work on the bridge.
Yeah. And then this program, which was called The Current Affair, which was nightly half-hour news magazine that followed the news. And they come and interviewed me on the bridge and then end up picking me up and say, could I come in once or twice a week and give, like, man in the street opinions of what's happening or what's wrong with the country or current events. Could I do that? And I said, yeah. And I did, but, you know, I used to get only drinking silver for doing that, so I had to keep my proper job. So I was in an awful situation after 12 months of being one of the best-known faces in the country and on national television a couple of times a week, and still sort of getting in the train and going to work and being up on the Harbour Bridge. So I was sort of on the verge of causing accidents.
Yeah.
Because people used to drive across there and they say, oh, look, maybe we'll see Hogs up on the bridge, you know, and they'd be driving across
Hi
the
there.
bridge looking for me. And, you know, boom.
You thought, I'll do a little bit of this and I'll stay on the bridge.
Yeah. But I didn't take it seriously. And I thought, well, that'll be fun to do that. And
Yeah.
sooner or later they'll wake up to me. And they'll say, this guy's a good rigger, but what's he doing on television? I really like my work. That's my hobby, and that's the luckiest thing, you know, because you spend a third of your life working and half of every waking day working, so if you should like what you're doing.
2 years ago, after Crocodile Dundee had come out and everything was terrific, you had a cerebral hemorrhage. From what? I mean, how horrible.
Oh, it was horrible, yeah. But it was from trying to lift a ridiculously heavy weight the wrong way. Just burst a blood vessel in my brain. Fortunately, it burst in a part of my brain I never use anyway, so it did no damage, you know. And I was up and about again after a couple of weeks, lost a bit of weight, got a bit weak. The medical advice I got from the best neuros in the world was pretend it never happened.
And it really has made no difference?
No, and a lot of people, you know, would still say to me, oh, well, you've got to slow down. I thought, if I slow down anymore, I'll be dead. You know, I sort of don't lead a high-key life.
When you are that sick and when you don't know what the future is going to be, does it change the way you think?
No, it didn't. It didn't. It was, one of those experiences, those brushes with death that was sort of wasted on me a little bit, because I'm quite happy with the way my life's gone along. And I didn't really lay there thinking, oh, I always wanted to go to Tibet and trek through the Himalayas. I've sort of done a lot of the things I wanted to do, and a lot of things I never thought I'd do or even dreamed about. So it's a pity, really. It's a pity that, the brush with death didn't make me suddenly sort of stop smoking and drinking and start eating vegetarian foods and sort of working for charity or doing all those sort of things.
Will you still do the commercials for the Australian government?
Yeah, I'll do another one or two or something. But I'm not sort of rushing to do any of those, and I'm sort of saying pull your head in a little bit because we've sort of got all the tourists we can handle.
You do now, as a result of these,
I don't want to tell people to come down there and then say you have to stay in a tent.
Oh, you could say to them, remember I told you to come down? Too many of you are coming, stay home?
Stay home.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting close to that stage. You're sort of doing a commercial and saying, look, come next year. There's no room for you at the moment.
From what I understand is you thought the commercials were pretty lousy and you said I can do better.
Yeah.
You thought they were boring. They were all
terrible.
little koala cubs.
The koala, and everyone said that was cute, but as I said to them, and said to the Parliament at home, no one's going to fly 13,000 miles to visit a zoo. Not only that, it's sort of if I come around to your house for dinner and I want to go back again, it's because I like your company, not your furniture. And they're up there selling furniture as far as I'm concerned. They're saying, look at these waterfalls and look at these beaches. Well, you can go to sort of any country in the world and find beautiful scenery. It's not a good enough reason to go there.
So what did you tell them you would sell?
I just come down and have a good time. You'll be welcome. You won't be met at the airport with people saying, go home Yankee, and you won't get sort of Montezuma's curse, and you won't be able to not figure out the money, and sort of, and when you're in the middle of your cold, bleak winter, we're in the middle of our summer. You know, it's sort of like, I think most importantly was it's sort of like, you will be welcome.
What is the difference between Americans and Australians?
You definitely take yourselves more seriously. You're more ambitious than we are, just as well. You're more intense, and that sort of let's get down to one-on-one and let's talk about the real you. And well, no one worries about that much at home. So I'll accept the you that you care to present me, and I don't really care too much about the real you. I've got my own life to live.
Yeah.
But you also have this, in America in particular, I've got this youth culture thing. Like the top movie that was on just before Crocodile Dundee was Top Gun. And I went
Cruise.
to saw it, right.
Yeah.
And not only Tom, who I've met, who's a nice kid, everyone in the movie, like the oldest person in the movie was like 25. Now, if you happen to be over 25, it's very hard to sit and watch those movies and say, that's what I want to be like when I grow up or get older, because you're already past it. You're 26 and you're older than everyone in the movie, and it's all over.
The leading ladies are 17.
The movies are all catering that way, and sort of like, there is life after 25, and you can have the lead in the movie and be the hero and be 50. It's this obsession with age, probably. It's age and weight, America, that was starting to show in the films.
Age and what?
Age and weight.
Age and white.
Weight.
White, I understand.
Weight, as
white.
in fat. You know, you can't be old and you can't be fat.
Oh, wait!
Weight. You just said the same word as me.
No, you said white.
Weight.
White, like black and white. You don't mean black and white.
W-E-I-G-H-T.
W-E-I-G-H-T. Wait.
Wait, yeah.
Repeat after me.
You'll get it.
Repeat after me.
No, don't you
Wait.
teach me how to talk. I'll teach you.
But you can get in trouble, you see, if people don't understand you.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm doing you a great service.
No.
Teaching you how to talk.
Change my accent to sort of Southern California and then I'll be unemployed.
Have you seen anything of our primaries here?
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you...
Someone has been doing charisma bypass operations on a large scale. And that's really strange for America because you were sort of, I think you were the first country in the world that virtually elected you from their presence on television rather than their policies.
Have you seen anything when you've been here of our TV evangelists who have been
Yes.
much in the news?
Yes, I love it.
You've mentioned that. What do you think of them?
Oh, it's wonderful entertainment. I just can't take it seriously, and we don't have that at home. It's sort of...
You don't have
no,
Sunday
you couldn't
morning?
come out on television at home and say, this morning I spoke to the Lord Jesus. And the Lord Jesus said to me, Jim, you know, that Jesus even calls them by name, some of these guys. I mean, you can't cop that at home. It's just, we're too cynical, I think, to... it doesn't mean we don't have religion, but we don't have it on that used car salesman level.
Do you find it amazing?
That's how some of it strikes me.
Really?
Yeah.
When one reads about you, Australia calls you their national treasure.
Mm.
You feel like a national treasure.
Yes, very much.
Say something in national treasure for me, would you please?
No, I sort of like, you know, unofficial ambassador and folk hero and all those little titles that come with sort of saying, basically, I'm a clown. If you start putting those titles on me, I'll feel like when I come over here, I should go and meet the Vice President. We should discuss international relationships, and I don't want to do that. You know, clown's much easier. Our ancestors did somersaults with funny little pointy hats and bells on it for the king. And if you were good, he threw you a piece of chicken, and if you were bad, he cut your head off. And that's all we are in the entertainment business. Sure, sometimes you can influence attitudes, but basically you're a clown. And the minute you start thinking of yourself that, you know, you're going to save the world, that's the trap area.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're not going to bring about world peace.
No, I don't think so. Oh, unless they made me benevolent dictator.
Story. Riding on a motorcycle with Rocky or Rambo, alias Sylvester Stallone. At this point in time, they're all one. Up the Beverly Hills to the house at the top, where Sylvester Stallone now rents. Yes, rents, not owns. Because since the breakup of his 18-month marriage to Brigitte Nielsen, part Danish, part Amazon, Stallone wants no possessions, nothing to remind him of her. Well, there is his collection of daggers.
I've been collecting knives for about 15 years. This is from Persia. This knife was used as the final punishment. This is the bottom line. If you were guilty of murder or if you're guilty of theft, they would use this to cut the throat.
Oh.
Yeah. Today I use it to open letters, which is kind of cutting my own throat usually when I...
And on the gentler, more sensitive side, there are his magnificent paintings. The Chagall, the Monet. His taste runs from the surreal Salvador Dali to Leroy Neiman's painting of Stallone as Rocky.
I think he really has a feel for the character, and His style, I think, is very exciting and very theatrical, and it's one of my favorite pieces.
You think it's you?
Yeah, I think he captures it real well. Matter of fact, I wish I was as noble as his painting. This is very good.
Noble indeed. These are the films: Rocky 1, 2, 3, and 4. Rocky was always known for his left-right combination. So he didn't stop there. There was Rambo 1, 2, and now Rambo 3. Rambo fighting in the desert of Afghanistan against the evil Russians. All the bravery, action, determination, and yes, violence that have evoked pride and provided escapism for millions of people all over the world. There have been other Stallone films, but these are the winners. For Stallone himself writes them, and in his scripts, the underdog always wins. And what has Stallone won? Movies that have earned $1 billion and an estimated personal worth of $100 million. An office complex full of art masterpieces. No accidental purchases for Stallone. Unlike his on-camera image, he is a lover of museums and art. Even when he didn't have a dime, he took solace looking at the pictures in museums. He himself paints dark and brooding pictures. He says he works out his fantasies, anger and hurt. Hurt, plenty. Pain from a childhood in which his mother barely kept him from reform school, and his teachers voted him the man most likely to end up in the electric chair, and they weren't kidding. But like Rocky, the movie he wrote, he overcame all odds, and the rest, as they say, is you know what. Along the way, his first marriage to Sasha fell apart. From that marriage, 2 sons, Sage, 12 years old, the pride of his life, another younger boy who is autistic, more pain. And then that marriage, number 2. The 6-foot perfect body, Brigitte, and the breakup a year ago. Rumors of other men or other women in her life. And Brigitte now pregnant with the child of football star Mark Gastineau. And Stallone, supposedly nursing a broken heart with ex-debutante Cornelia Guest. More rumors of marriage. And recently, dates with Wheel of Fortune's Vanna White, whom he says is just a friend. His glamour girl dates, his controversial past, the years of Rockies and Rambos have given him the hard-to-shed image of a great body, but a limited mind. It just isn't so.
When we talked earlier, I remember being very surprised that you were as smart as you were. Now, that's almost a put-down, but you were. Why don't people think this of you?
I think that my private life, in a way, counterbalances that. I think that the way I look physically counterbalances that. I just wonder how people can think that you can, stay around as long and not have an IQ of above a turtle, it's like...
And how you can write almost all the films that you're in. Now, speaking of that, the fact that Rocky and Rambo are the films with which you are the most associated,
right.
with which you have been so successful. Cobra has also been extremely successful. The other films haven't made it that much. Is this that you will always have to do Rocky and Rambo? The audience won't accept anything else?
I think in that genre, yes. I have to be realistic that the audience is very astute.
So does this mean that you spend the rest of your life, that's not bad, doing Rocky, Rambo 4, Rocky 5? Where are we now? Rocky and the Return of the Crutches. Quick. Rambo in his wheelchair, and on we go.
Give me this iron lung, I can take him. I don't know. I suppose that in a way, I have to be realistic. It is something that I find galling, because I would like to go out and play Puccini.
But it doesn't bother you as much anymore. I mean, you accept it.
No, I accept it. I accept it. It doesn't mean I enjoy it.
How did you feel when President Reagan invoked Rambo and said, after the TWA hostages, he said, I'll know what to do the next time. I'll be like Rambo, something like that.
Well, I appreciated it, but I also realized that it made my life very difficult, that statement. Because right away, it took Rambo and threw him head first, skidding across the floor into the political arena. I said, whoa, what am I doing here? I did a fictional character, and now here he is addressing the nation as an example of Ramboism. So I think that it was a little unfair, but I understand why he did it.
Are you political? Would you ever like to run?
No.
No.
God, there's so many skeletons in my closet. You would die of calcium deposits if it ever... No. We're dying of bone. No, my God, it'd be an avalanche. You know, I couldn't be elected doorman at the White House, which is, forget it.
If Rocky and Rambo are part of you, and they're your fantasy life, what is your fantasy?
What is my fantasy?
Yeah.
I would like to be able to have a home life that is really beautiful. That is, the whole storybook, white picket fence bit, I really would. I would like to go for that. I haven't really been successful at it. Maybe it's my own fault, I don't know.
You're such a smart man. I don't understand the choices you make. Do you?
I understood them at the time because at the time they seemed to have been right. But in looking back through the cracked mirror, you might say, it wasn't right. I thought I'm a pretty astute judge of character. I guess I'm not as smart as I think I am sometimes.
You know, there's been so much that's written. So much of it must have bothered you and embarrassed you. You're not a silly person.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. That really bothered me. Because I said, God, damn, it's one thing to have problems, and it's another to have it fought out in front of millions of people who pass judgment and don't know a damn thing about it and pour gasoline on already a flaming situation. That bothers me, and it's humiliating.
Why don't we try to set the record straight? Tell us as much as you can or as much as you feel like. What went wrong? I mean, we read these terrible stories.
When I met Brigitte, she was, without a doubt, the most endearing, funny, vivacious, sweet, caring person I had ever met in my life. I thought this was the one I had always been looking for all my life. And it was a miracle. She came at a time when I needed that. I wanted that. And I became, in Rocky IV, I remember I was punched in the heart by accident, and the sac around the heart began to bleed, and they rushed me to intensive care where I stayed for a couple weeks. And I mean, she would sleep on the floor of the room, send flowers, be at my side, and she was just perfect in every way. And that's why I married her. I just thought, I thought about futures. I said, you know, this is the woman I want to be around when I'm 80. And I was very happy. I'd never been happier. I don't think I'd ever been happier for those first few months. Then something went wrong. But I really want to try to focus on the good parts while it lasted before things changed. And otherwise I would go crazy.
Do you know why they changed?
I'm not sure. You know, it's...
Well, we read it was another man. We read it was another woman.
I mean, I've heard all these things. I've never, this thing about the other woman, this is something that the press cooked up. I never, ever saw anything like that. I lived with her. I never saw another woman. I don't believe the woman is innately cruel. I don't. I just think that something happened. It was like, maybe the relationship was hot and furious and passionate, and it just ran its course. And then after the smoke of passion cleared away, we had two strangers staring at each other. So
But there wasn't another man that broke it up?
I don't know. I hear rumors. Do I know of anyone definitely? At the time of the marriage, I didn't know of anything at the time, no.
Is she out of your life?
When you say out of my life, you mean is she like out of my heart?
Is she out of your heart?
Yes.
But not out of your head.
Well, I don't think of it because it hurts. You know, it's like anyone who's been through it hurts. So it's always there and always will be there.
Did you really meet because she sent you a photograph in the hotel room and a number? It must have been quite a photograph. What was it?
It was a model layout. It was, I think, 2 pictures on one side in clothes, and the other one is like a bathing suit.
Don't you get pictures lots of times from women?
Yeah, but this one was 7 feet long.
Was it really?
It was actual size.
Did she really send you a huge, huge picture that just kept opening
It took
up?
3 bellhops to bring it up.
Did it really? No kidding.
No, it was a big, nice picture.
How big?
It was big enough to blow my mind, okay?
So you picked up the telephone?
You gotta be kidding. This is a joke. This is a composite of incredible parts stuck together.
I must find out what this is.
This doesn't exist. And then I went to see her and knocked on the door, and the door opened, and I looked up at this towering inferno. I said, my God. It was like wonderful. And the picture sure did her justice, and that was the way it was. But see, again, I don't want to lose that. Yeah. And you say, what is that you don't want to lose? I'll tell you. What I don't want to lose is that sense of adventure and spirit and saying, yes, you see a woman a mile away, and you say, oh, I want to meet her. There's something, and just go up and take a chance is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you're afraid that if you get bitter, you won't.
Oh, no, you never. Absolutely. You'd have to have her checked out by 50 people. Who is it? Who has she been with?
She's going to take...
Is she going to take me, right?
Then I have to ask you, as part of that, did she take a lot of money? We read $6 million.
No. I can't discuss the facts, but not even close.
But it wasn't that you were, that you minded the money. It's that you mind
I didn't care about the money.
Mind the falling in love, the innocence, whatever.
Yes. I mind the heartache.
Yeah.
Money is something that can be replaced. Memories can't.
While we're on it, and then we'll get off and talk about other things. You've had a little publicity with Cornelia Guest.
I met Cornelia, and I found her to be fascinating. She's comes from a whole different social strata, but it was always a friendship. It was never intended, like the press, to say to go to marriage.
Your mother said it was.
I know. My mother says a lot of things.
You know how Mommy is.
Mother is impossible. And I gave up. I threw in the towel. I said, forget it. I'm on the ropes, gasping for air. I can't take it. My mother is like, you can't stop it. You can stop a glacier if you push hard enough. You can stop a tidal wave. You build a wall, a bank, but you can't stop Mom. Forget it. And she's great in her own way. My mother is just irrepressible. She's unusual. She does things that are right out of a storybook. I got a mother who manages wrestlers.
Doesn't everyone? What does Mommy do?
She manages wrestlers. And where is she now? She's taking tap dancing lessons. Excuse me? But she's great. She's great. And in her own way, she would kill for her children. You know, she would kill her children.
No. But to get back to Cornelia, even though Mommy would like you to marry Cornelia, it's a friendship, no marriage.
Yes.
And Vanna White?
I met Vanna 10 years ago. And never, she doesn't owe anybody anything. She's never asked for a favor from me or anyone I know of.
Are you and Vanna White more than friends?
More than friends. I'd say we're more than friends, yes, in the sense that I can always call on her. I go out with her. But no, is it a love affair? Yeah. No.
Is there anyone you're serious about?
I don't know. That worries me to get serious right now. I am being protective. I don't want to get involved. So if I don't see someone consistently, then I don't feel as though I'm going to fall into a relationship that I feel I'm not prepared to be in.
You believe so much in fate and destiny.
Yes.
What is your destiny?
I think I am a messenger. I've always believed that, kind of a teacher. I've been down, I've been poor, I've I've been the lowest a person can be in this business and come up. So I've seen every facet of it. So don't ever, the word impossible should go out, because I am a living testimony that miracles do exist through hard labor and dedication.
You created Rambo and you created Rocky.
Yeah.
How would Rocky describe you? How would Rambo describe you?
Me?
Yeah.
Good question. Oh, I think Rocky would say he's an okay guy. I think that he stays by himself too much. He's kind of a loner. And Rambo, I think, would see in me someone he could hang out with, could talk to, who could understand his dark side. No, I think the characters would look back and say that he did us a good service. He lived his life on his own terms. He fought his wars, he lost a few, but he never quit. He never quit. Quitting is too easy. Fighting is tough. Living is tough. Dying is easy. Living is tough.
Writer Colin Dexter has been praised for the rich Oxford ambience brought to his Inspector Morse novels. Not surprisingly, Dexter lives in Oxford, not far from Somerville College, alma mater to Dorothy L. Sayers, and Balliol College, alma mater of Lord Peter Wimsey. In fact, he doesn't live very far from the schools of other Oxford mystery men like John le Carré, Edmund Crispin, and Michael Innes. The list goes on and on. An unofficial mystery rivalry between Oxford and Cambridge finds more whodunits set in Oxford than in Cambridge, more fictional detectives as Oxford graduates, and more crime writers living near Oxford than the other place. P.D. James and Marjorie Allingham are the heavy hitters for Cambridge, but even so, Oxford wins hands down. Why? The key might be found in the educational focus of the universities themselves. Cambridge University, strong on science, actually has a chair in criminology, and so approaches detection with cold, hard fact rather than a fictional perspective. Oxford University, on the other hand, still subscribes to the medieval traditions of disputation established by schoolmen in the 12th century. Oxford scholars pride themselves on the ability to detect false arguments and bad evidence, to construct a coherent case, and to see more than one side of a matter. Well, I find all of these arguments a bit far-fetched, by the way, because our author, Colin Dexter, who writes so beautifully about Oxford, is himself a Cambridge man. Until next time, I'm Vincent Price for Mystery. Good night.
Tonight, on the Barbara Walters Special.
I've gone through relationships where I was suffocated with desire and thwarted, and you think you're going to die. Suffocated.
I used to rack my brain to figure it out, and then one day I realized older men never ask me out. Never.
I think Cher is sexy. And I'm such a long way from being Cher, but if Cher is sexy, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Good evening, and welcome to Hollywood's Pantages Theater, where many of the most glorious motion pictures of the past had their premieres. On this Academy Award night, we pay our respects to the great stars of yesterday and to the achievements of the stars working today. We're proud to present conversations with three of the most exciting and unpredictable. First, Oscar nominee of 2 years back, today probably the most dynamic female star on television. And how I love turning the tables and interviewing Oprah Winfrey. And believe me, it's an Oprah Winfrey you've never seen before. Glenn Close, nominated tonight for Best Actress in Fatal Attraction. Her performance, compelling, frightening, bursting from the screen. And she's had her own compelling romantic attraction this year, as you will hear. Is there a more fascinating personality in pictures today than Cher? Just 3 years ago, Cher wasn't sure that Hollywood would take her seriously as an actress. And tonight, she is nominated for an Academy Award. But success hasn't changed the outspoken, outrageous, funny, and touching Cher. Stay with us.
The Barbara Walters Special, brought to you by the makers of Midol 200, the advanced cramp formula for women, from the company that understands women. And Mercury, the cars that are changing the direction of automotive design. Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
Some people move up in the world a little faster than others. Maybe it's because they know what's waiting for them when they get to the top. A luxury car. One of the big three. Lincoln Continental, Lincoln Mark 7, or Lincoln Town Car. Anything less isn't worth the climb. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
It starts with a twinge, then there's another, and soon the contractions begin. This isn't labor pain, it's the start of your monthly cramps. But the biochemical process is similar. Understanding the true origin of menstrual cramps led to the development of Midol 200. It helps block the source of these cramps and relieves the pain. Midol 200, the advanced cramp formula for women from the company that understands women.
Something exciting just hit carpets. It's making a big splash in home fashions. It's this complete book on decorating with carpet, and it's free now at participating stores during DuPont Decorating Days, just for looking at today's DuPont Certified Stain Master. To get your free book, drop in now for Stain Master. Only from DuPont.
It all begins simple enough. Boy meets girl.
We were attracted to each other at the party. That was obvious.
But boy is very married.
And where's your wife? And you're here with a strange girl being a naughty boy.
I don't think having dinner with anybody is a crime.
And girl is, well, one of the most erotic, treacherous, and convincing characters that we've seen on film in a long time. And when Michael Douglas meets Glenn Close, it becomes a fatal attraction. Not only has the movie become one of the top grossing films of the year, but also one of the most talked about. And it has made Glenn Close a leading contender for the Best Actress Oscar Award, and a name that now brings in big box office. It's hard to believe that this woman, who has given new meaning to the word seduction, is the same one who began her film career playing the mother of Robin Williams in The World According to Garp. Most people had no idea that she was a mere 34 years old when she played Jenny Fields. At least in her second film, The Big Chill, she played a character a little more her age, the solid and very married Sarah Cooper. But her Earth Mother image was only reinforced in this scene from The Natural, where she played a woman so angelic and virginal that the glow radiating from her inspires Robert Redford to hit a home run. Glenn Close had received 3 Oscar nominations in a row for these 3 films, but she'd never won, and she had a goody two-shoes image in Hollywood. With Fatal Attraction, she has certainly stripped away any image problem that might have plagued her in the past. Far from the frenzy and mania of her latest film,
lives the real Glenn Close. She has moved to a country home outside of New York, where at the age of 41, she awaits the arrival of her first child. She shares the home with her much-loved dog, Gabby. The father of her child is producer John Stark. They first met 7 years ago, and then came together again last year, following the breakup of Glenn Close's second marriage. She says that one thing that has sustained her through the disappointments in her private and professional life is the memory of her early childhood. Those early years were spent on her grandfather's estate in Connecticut, surrounded by animals, carefree days, and much wealth. But that idyllic childhood ended at the age of 13, when her father, who was a surgeon, left to work in Africa. He and her mother remained there for 16 years and began a difficult period of living somewhat apart from their children. For Glenn, it was a lonely childhood. She went to a private girls' boarding school, and after graduation, she had a brief marriage. But it was when she entered William and Mary College that her acting career really began. She was the star of most of the productions there, and then went on to New York, where her first real exposure was singing in the hit musical Barnum.
Build a tower up so high to a cloud, you'll anchor build it one tiny brick at a time.
Throughout the house, there are reminders of her career. Upstairs, you can find the bed where she and Kevin Kline slept in The Big Chill. The teddy bear is from a scene in The Natural. And in her basement, she's kept many of the costumes from her films.
I laid out some of the things that I wore in various movies.
You kept all the costumes?
Well, I try to keep as many as I can because I really get attached to them.
Isn't this fantastic? And all of these... Well, this looks like that Judy Garland movie. I was born in the trunk.
I know. This...
I remember this.
Was the scene where Michael and I first meet each other at the book reception
in Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
Look at what this is cut down to. No wonder you had
Quite
that little romance.
Yes.
You're going to wear this again?
Oh, I hope so. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite things.
Funny compared to that. This is the nurse in The World According to God, right?
Jenny Fields.
Oh, look at the shoes.
Oh, yeah, this is a conglomeration.
Do you wear these? do you wear this?
Well, I just think it's fun to have. These, kind of a contrast. This is Jenny Fields again. Shoes that I wore in my first movie.
And it was that movie which earned her the first Academy Award nomination.
I still can remember what it was like to hear that I'd been nominated for The World According to Garp, because that was my first movie, and it was the furthest thing from my mind. And it was such a...
Really?
It was absolutely, and it was such an incredible feeling of wonder and elation and gratitude that I always think of that moment every year when the Oscars come around, because it will never happen to me again. I won't ever be that virgin in this whole world of awards.
Do you think that you deserve to win for Fatal Attraction? I know that's a terrible question, but...
I don't think it's a terrible question, because I think I do deserve to win.
Was Fatal Attraction the best work you've done?
I worked extremely hard in developing that character, and I did a lot of homework. I worked with psychiatrists, and but I went to the script and I went moment to moment, her psychological, the thought process that this woman would go through, and they all were incorporated into the script. An example is a moment when you see me alone turning the lamp on and off. I thought it was very important to show this character in her total devastation, totally alone. I always thought of her as being tragic rather than evil.
Can you imagine being that obsessed?
Yes.
Have you ever been that obsessed?
Not to the extent that I would do harm to somebody. But I've gone through relationships where I was suffocated with desire and thwarted, and you think you're going to die. Suffocated. And I understand that. And I thought of that when I was doing Alex, where you think if you don't see this person in the next 5 minutes, you'll expire. That it becomes part of your breath.
And you felt that way?
I felt that way, yes.
I can't imagine someone not returning it.
Oh, yes, I've had my
I've had my share.
I've had my share of ups and downs.
I was just reading that you have just been voted one of the top 10 box office draws of the year, Glenn Close. You know? What has this meant, this kind of success? What has it done to your life? We sit here so quietly, you know, with the beautiful snow, we're thousands of miles away, but it must have changed.
Yes, it has. This is very much a part of what I've sought out because of the changes. I have felt a great need to try to establish a place where I can find quiet and privacy. To walk down the street and to have people one after another recognize you is wonderful, but it can make you very self-conscious. And if you come, when I was little, I was morbidly shy, and there's still a part of that little girl in me.
What kind of a little girl were you?
I always, from a very early age, was able to amuse myself alone. I never had to be entertained.
Pretending?
I would pretend. I could play for hours, apparently, by myself.
Did you want to be an actress? Do you remember that as a kid?
I don't think I even knew what that would mean, but I loved pretending that I was other people.
I wonder how many people realize that most of your career has been in the theater.
I was on the stage for 10 years before I did my first movie.
When you were doing theater, you were part of the theater, was doing musicals, singing. And you have a lovely voice. I even heard you sing the Star Spangled Banner at a baseball game.
The Mets.
Is it true that you're making an album?
Yes, I'm putting together an album of lullabies.
I wonder why. Do one for us.
Let's see if I can get those.
Transport yourself. Look out the window, see the snow. Think of the baby that's coming.
Let's see. Golden slumbers kiss your eyes, smiles await you when you rise. Sleep, pretty baby, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby.
Lovely. Well, let's talk about the baby. I don't even know where to begin. Tell us about John. Your face lights up.
I first met him on Garp. He was the production manager for The World According to Garp. And he was just very larger than life. And we were together then for a while, and because both of us had a long way to go, we broke up, and we, I guess about a year ago, came back together again, and it was magnificent because we'd both come a long way from where we'd been together before, and we know each other very well, and get a big kick, laugh a lot.
He's a producer today?
Yes, he's just starting to produce, yeah.
I almost feel, I don't know why I feel like such a fuddy-duddy by asking this, but you love him. You're having a baby. Why don't you get married?
I've failed at 2 marriages, and I don't want to get married until that's the best thing for us to do. We went through the horrible publicity. When everybody found out I was pregnant, it was pretty difficult. It was splashed all over the tabloids, and I just thought it would be wrong to leap into something just because that's what people expected. I felt Fatal Attraction opened so much for me as an artist as well. It was a real release, and I think it had repercussions all through my life.
It opened you up.
Right. Shook me up, opened me up. And I think the baby is the new life.
Not just a new life, but the new life.
Yeah. I think to have the relationship that John and I have is possible. to have this baby as possible. That I really believe now that my life is valid as my life, and I don't have to compare myself to anybody.
Had you almost always been someone who did what somebody else thought you should, whether it was your parents or the past husbands? Or...
I was this little pleasing machine. Couldn't help myself, you know? Knowing, you're trying to figure out what is it that they want me to do. I can do it. Oh, I can do that. You want that? I can do that. And it's, I think I'm in a much more peaceful place in my life now.
With all the contradictions in you and the somewhat complicated person behind this serene face, who is Glenn Close?
I think the essence of me is still that little girl that was running around in the country. Pretending.
This is the dawn of Glorious. Glorious, the joyous fragrance by Gloria Vanderbilt. Bursting with a promise of things to come. Enter the world of Glorious by Gloria Vanderbilt, and may all your days be glorious.
They're intelligent and beautiful,
Darling.
charming and graceful.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
They're the Witches of Eastwick, and they're all after one lucky devil.
Are you going to seduce me too?
Take them home and find out why this is one of the most entertaining films of the year.
Better believe it.
Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer are diabolically delightful.
Hocus pocus.
In The Witches of Eastwick. Get it on video cassette from Warner Home Video.
When skin's unbalanced, it's written all over your face. Dry patches here, oily spots there, flaky here, shiny there. Let Physoderm Cleanser help keep your skin in natural balance. Daily washing with Physoderm goes deep to clean and moisturize, so your skin's in balance. A balance that's not too oily, not too dry. Skin feels fresh, clean, healthy. Give your skin special care with Physoderm for the natural balance that's written all over your face.
Wednesday.
Drop down and give me 20.
John Ritter becomes a prisoner of love.
This is what happens when your brain drops below your belt.
Hooperman. Then, after a day at the office, a night on the town.
My God.
Work, work, work.
They got together just in time. Then.
Are you any good? Good enough.
Since he met you, Paul is new and improved.
We should have waited.
Yeah.
Heartbeat. After Hooperman and Just in Time, Wednesday.
The Barbara Walters special will continue in a moment.
Tuesday.
Take a book to bed, or at least somebody who's read one.
Who's the Boss makes headlines.
Keep them pledges coming or I'll sing too.
Then. The moment.
I'm a believer.
The magic.
If I try.
The wonder years.
It's always prime time, Las Vegas. When it's your time to relax and turn it on, it's always prime time, Las Vegas. Anytime is your time. It's prime time.
Anytime can be quality time. Look at Prime Cable now and improve your vision.
Anytime is your time. When it's prime time.
Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Stop what you're doing. Drop into your Las Vegas Ford dealers and get a spring break. Get up to $1,000 factory cash back on America's best-built, best-selling cars and trucks.
That's $1,000.
Plus low 7.9 financing on selected models.
7.9 and cash back?
It only happens once a year, so drop everything and save. Spring break, only till April 17th. Only at your Las Vegas Ford dealers.
Getting close to 90 tomorrow. The complete forecast tonight at 11.
Everybody loves Don't Cry.
It seems that everybody really does love Oprah.
She's fun, she's hip, she's really got her style.
Her show has only been on national television for a year and a half, but it's already the highest-rated syndicated talk show in the country. The reason? The host. Oprah Winfrey has personality with a capital P. She never holds back, whether it be her true feelings.
With all due respect to you, Reverend, you're a liar, and you're a slime.
Wait a minute.
Or letting the audience know about her own frustrations and weaknesses, like her weight problem.
How many Last Suppers have you all had in here? Oh. Remember, Jill, we had the Last Supper at Morton's? Yep, steak, potatoes, yeah.
And about being a single woman out there in the dating world.
I washed my hair on Friday nights.
And most of all, she has compassion for people. She takes the hand or puts her arms around anyone who needs comforting. Oprah cares. And the source of that caring is her childhood, which by her own admission was not typical or easy. She was born illegitimately in Mississippi and spent her early childhood living on her grandmother's farm there. She was gifted and smart, and even as a toddler, she was reading scripture in church. But at the age of 6, she joined her mother in Milwaukee and began a period of rebellion. Today, she says her salvation was when her mother sent her to live with her father when she was 14. He worked as a barber in Nashville, and he was strict and demanded discipline. While in high school there, she entered several beauty contests, and that led to a job offer at a local television station in town. So at the age of 19, while still going to college, she became a reporter and anchorwoman.
And what's your reaction to all of this, first of all?
And it started her on the road to Chicago to host the morning talk show. It was on the air there that she was discovered for the part of the strong-willed Sophia in The Color Purple.
You told Harpo to beat me. All my life I had to fight. I had to fight my daddy. I had to fight my uncles. I had to fight my brothers. Girl child ain't safe in the family men's. But I ain't never thought I had to fight in my own house.
It was a spectacular acting debut, one which earned her an Academy Award nomination.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oprah Winfrey.
And so Oprah Winfrey, in a very short time, has become a huge media star, winning Emmys, becoming more and more glamorous, and more wealthy. Her earnings from the syndicated talk show have been reported to be as high as $30 million a year. She heads up her own production company and has moved into one of the poshest buildings in Chicago, where she has created a home that is luxurious and full of cozy conversation areas, whether it be in the living room or the dining room. Her bedroom is painted in her favorite color, purple, and in it she has a special corner for her doll collection. The artwork throughout varies from these sculptures that were given to her by Bill Cosby to this collage depicting her praying with her grandmother.
And to this day, I always say my prayers on my knees because I think maybe they get there sooner.
The collage was given to her by her boyfriend, Stedman Graham, a former athlete whom she has been dating now for more than a year. She says that he is one of the few men in her life who has really cared for her. Something very much on her mind the day we visited. That morning, she had done a show on sexual abuse, and it brought back memories of the abuse that Oprah herself had suffered as a little girl. It was a subject she never talked about until 4 years ago on one of her shows. And so the Oprah I talked with that day was not her usual wisecracking self, but a much more introspective one.
When I get tears in my eyes about the whole question of sexual molestation, I always think that it's not for me. I only cry when I think about it happening to other people.
You were not raped, were you?
I was.
You were actually raped. Did you know?
No, I had no idea.
What do you think was happening?
I'll tell you. I remember being at a relative's house, and I'd been left with a 19-year-old cousin. And he raped me. And I knew it was bad, and I knew it was wrong, mainly because it hurt so badly. He took me to get ice cream into the zoo afterwards. and told me that if I ever told, we would both get in trouble. So I never did. That same was the summer of my 9th year. I went into the 5th grade that fall, and I remember Maria Gonzalez on the playground telling me how babies came into the world and how you made babies. So I went through the entire 5th grade every day thinking, I'm going to have a baby. And at the time, though, I didn't know that you had to be...
You make me want to cry.
Yeah. And so that's why I weep for the lost innocence. I weep for that. Because you're never the same again. You're never the same.
But it happened again.
And it happened again.
With other relatives?
Yes, with another relative. It happened with an uncle. It happened with a boyfriend who lived in my mother's home. Wasn't my mother's boyfriend. It was a boyfriend of another relative. And what happens to you after a while, you start to think you're marked. You start to think that you're marked. And that's why in The Color Purple, when I did the scene, when Sophia walks through the cornfield and she says, I had to fight my uncles and I had to fight my cousins. But I never thought I'd have to fight in my own house. It was, I did it first take because it was so real.
When you first began to have sex with someone who cared about you, was that terribly hard? You could divide it in your mind?
No, I tell you, I say that I wasn't affected, but what it does to you, you cannot come out of it without being touched in some way. What it did for me was it made me a sexually promiscuous teenager, and it's very confusing because if it's the first time in your life anyone has ever shown you any kind of affection or attention, you confuse that with love, and so you go searching for it in other places.
And get it any way you can.
And you get it any way you can. And so I used to run away from home, and I used to, bring boys home when my mother wasn't there, and cause all kinds of problems for myself until I was 14 and then sent to live with my father, and that ended it, just ended it. And that is one of the reasons why he is so strict. I often talk about him being very strict, but he was so strict because he knew what he had to deal with.
He did, huh?
Yeah.
Oprah, I've heard you talk about your success, and you said I was like a hit record waiting to be released, and you talk about your confidence and so forth. Then I hear this, and I know about your childhood, and I think, so where did this lady come from? How did you get to be this?
I really don't know, but somewhere I've always known that I was born for greatness in my life. Somewhere I've always felt it. I remember being on my grandmother's farm and knowing at 4 years old, I just always knew. I just always knew. I don't regret being born illegitimately and living part of my life with my grandmother and part with my father and my mother. I don't regret all of that past confusion. I don't regret it at all. It has made me exactly who I am. And without that, without all of those elements, I would be somebody else. I probably would not, without my past, sexual abuse included, be able to handle what is happening to me as well as I think that I am.
When you were born, you were illegitimate. That was a disgrace.
Yeah.
Would you have a child without being married?
No. And I don't have any particularly strong moral aversion to people who do. I think that's fine if that's what you want. But I want the kind of life I didn't have. I want a father who comes home and is happy to be there, and I want to be there loving and nurturing my daughter or my son. I want my daughter or son to grow up with a father in the home who knows that he or she is loved.
Is all that going to happen? Is it going to happen with Stedman?
It would be wonderful if it is Stedman. It would be really wonderful, because he's very special. He's so kind. He reminds me so much of my father.
So why don't you do it?
They both are honorable, because I'm not ready. I don't think he is either, but I know I'm not ready. I'm not ready. The truth is that for Christmas I gave Stedman Wednesdays.
You mean every Wednesday you see Stedman?
Every Wednesday. For sure I'm going to see him. For sure. Now, I see him other times, but for sure on Wednesdays. And he had given me Sundays, so we have Wednesdays and Sundays.
You have to want enough to give Thursday and Friday and a little bit of Monday.
And a little bit of Monday and Tuesday. And so I can't say that I'm ready yet. I can't say.
When we talk about the past with you, you entered a contest, Miss Fire Prevention, is that what it was called? I love that.
Oh, yeah. And I entered as a fluke. I entered because at the time we were Negroes, you know. And we hadn't gotten black yet. And so I was the only Negro
in the Misfire Prevention
contest. And certainly never expected to win, because why would I? And I won. And I said I wanted to be a journalist, like Barbara Walters.
I had read that, and I never knew whether it was true or not. It was.
Absolutely the truth. And you know why I said that? I had not a clue. I was 16 years old. I had not a clue what I really wanted to do with my life. But I had seen you on the Today Show that morning. And for me, you were a mentor. You were the only woman I knew who was doing anything. And so I thought, yeah, that's a good thing. That's what I'll say. And at the time I said it, I really had no intention of going into the business at all. But it sounded like a good answer. And I ended up doing it. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy for me.
Can you do me?
Well.
Oh, I'm going to be sorry I am.
I remembered seeing you on the Today Show, and you always used to do this. And so I thought, if you can get that movement down. And I remember you looking up and looking down. Now, at the time I auditioned, I had no idea.
I was looking at questions. Because I always write dozens and dozens and dozens of questions.
And so what I did was I'd look down, and then I'd look up, and I'd talk, and then I'd look down. And there was nothing down there, but I'd look up and talk, and I'd look down. And I had Barbara Walters in my mind, in my head, and I was hired. And for the longest time, I'd watch you every morning, and I'd go on the air, and I'd imitate you.
Tell me about it. I take full responsibility for you, Oprah.
Should, as well, you should.
Yeah. Oprah, are you hurt when people call you an Oreo or say that you are pandering and that you're trying to be more white and, you know, you've read all this stuff. Or that you're nicer to the whites in your audience than you are to the blacks?
I used to be very hurt by it, and I used to always think that I had to defend it and always make people know that, yes, I really am black and I really am proud of it. And I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel it anymore. Because I know in my spirit that I care about what happens to black people and people in this country.
Did you ever wish you were white?
As a little girl, I wanted to be... Yeah, I did. I was growing up in Mississippi, and it's the kind of thing that I hesitate to say, because when you say it, all the black groups call you and say, how dare you say it? But yes, I did. And I did now, I understand, not because, you know, white is better, but because in my mind then, white kids were loved more, they received more, their parents were nicer to them. And so I wanted that kind of life. I wanted to be one of the Kool-Aid kids. And you know what changed it for me? The night I saw Dinah Ross and the Supremes on the Ed Sullivan Show, I thought, I want to be like that. And so, you know, I look back on my life and I think, when you ask me about how did I get to be here, there's so many little pieces to the process that has helped me to be who I am. It's something as small as seeing Dinah Ross and the Supremes. I remember the night I was 10 years old and Sidney Poitier received the Academy Award for Lilies of the Field. And I thought to myself, I'm going to be there. And it's the first time, you know, it makes me want to cry because it's the first time I thought I can do that. And so the night I was at the Academy Awards, I thought, I did this.
You were nominated for Color Purple.
But I thought a lot that night about Sidney Poitier.
Why the tears now, Oprah?
Well, because I think that It's the first time I've really thought about all the things that I really wanted. I have them. And,
Tell me what they were.
I wanted to be somebody. And I think perhaps maybe I've been so busy just being that person that this is one of the first times I thought, yes, I have done that. I have done that. And I have that and more. You know, when you're watching on your linoleum floor and you see Sidney Poitier, you just think, wouldn't it be nice to be there in a limousine? But to be able to have that and know what that means, to have gotten there and know that you worked to get there. And that it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. It feels very good.
Mercury, the cars that changed the direction of the wind, directing the flow of the rushing air to help keep them firmly in contact with the road. Mercury, the cars that change the direction of the wind are changing the direction of automotive design. Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
You know what's real tacky? When your makeup looks like someone baked a cake on your face and you feel like a jerk.
So I use Visuel Invisible Coverage from L'Oreal.
It covers, oh, how it covers, but it's invisible. So when they ask, what's all this whoop-de-doo about invisible coverage? Just say, you've got to not see it to believe it.
Visuel, Invisible Coverage Makeup from L'Oreal.
Because Citicorp understands the drive to succeed, to do more than just get by, we've become the nation's largest financial services company, already helping 1 in every 5 American families, with more student loans, more home mortgages, more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. Citicorp and Citibank, we'd like you to get to know us better. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
Introducing, for more reason to love, Stouffer's Lean Cuisine.
1.
New vegetable and pasta mornay.
2.
New baked rigatoni.
3.
Sliced turkey breast and mushroom sauce with rice pilaf.
4.
New Szechuan beef.
Now Stouffer's Good Cooking comes in 28 delicious lean cuisine entrees, all under 300 calories.
Who can beat that?
Stouffer's Lean Cuisine. More satisfaction with you.
Friday, Barbara Walters one-on-one with Jesse Jackson on the road to the presidency. Plus, an exclusive look inside the world Andy Warhol left behind on 2020 Friday.
Sunday.
Are you asking me to marry you?
You know what I do.
They called him the Enforcer. And he ruled the criminal empire of Al Capone. But there was a side of him his enemies never knew.
Wait for me? Yes, I will wait.
Nicky. Sunday.
In the 20-some years that she's been in show business, Cher has had more than her share of ups and downs. She's been the butt of jokes, was overlooked for an Oscar nomination for the film Mask, and criticized for her non-traditional lifestyle. But today, make no mistake, Cher has defied all critics. She has proven without a shadow of a doubt that she is a star and a talent to be reckoned with. This past year, Cher became the center of everyone's attention with 3 startling film performances. First, she played one of the witches in Witches of Eastwick, and then an attorney in the suspense thriller Suspect with Dennis Quaid. And finally, Moonstruck, where she played a middle-aged widowed bookkeeper who falls in love.
I'm in love with you.
Snap out of it!
I can't.
And tonight she may very well win an Academy Award for Best Actress in this film. Now that she's the toast of Hollywood, has the non-conformist Cher conformed? Not on your life. In the same year that she was being praised for her acting, she returned to the world of rock and roll with a new album. And for an appearance promoting the record, she showed up in one of her typical outfits, leaving little to the imagination. What was atypical was that she agreed to appear with her former partner and husband, Sonny Bono. Their one-night reunion brought back a lot of memories.
So let them say your hair's too long. I don't care, you are too wrong. Oh, then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb. Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
But forget Sonny. Cher is now involved with a 24-year-old whom she first met a year ago while dancing at a club in New York. His name is Robert Camilletti, and when they met, he was working as a bagel maker on Long Island. When she wanted him to appear as her lover in one of her videos for the album, the record company said no. She then turned around, raised the money, and directed her own video.
I don't have any good close-up on this camera, this movie camera.
We are rolling, camera's rolling, way back.
Somebody somewhere turns off the lights. Somebody all alone faces the night.
She is still the defiant, vulnerable, and down-to-earth Cher that I first met 3 years ago. Most of her time is now spent living in Greenwich Village here in New York with her 2 children, Elijah Blue, 11, and Chastity, 19. And I accompanied her as she did the family shopping at the local gourmet food store, Balducci's.
You know, Cher, I think people are going to be surprised that you do your own marketing. You know, they'll think somebody comes and does it for you. And
Well, you know what? I really enjoy it. I like, you know what? I think Chastity, Elijah, Robert, they all have their favorite things here. So when I come home with all of their favorite things, oh, this looks fabulous. Can we try this cheese? Sure.
What is
it?
It's the torta basilico.
Nice.
Onto the sausage?
Yeah, onto the salami. And prosciutto and... Hey, Mario.
Hi, Cher.
Can I have some, I want some bib lettuce, Boston lettuce? Which is this
Boston
one?
lettuce.
And bib lettuce.
I mean,
Are you 2 old friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She shops here all the time?
All the time.
I just want to prove to our audience that we didn't fake it tonight.
Oh. You look pretty tonight, look.
You know what? This guy is like, so he's so Sicilian. He's so full of compliments all the time. What about you?
And so, can the fun-loving, unpretentious Cher finally win her Oscar?
You said, I will never get an Oscar. Remember when you used to say that?
I probably, yeah. I mean, it might still be true.
Do you think it's true?
I don't really know, but I think that they might be more willing to... I mean, I didn't go away, and I think that's kind of what they thought, you know, that I might go away, but I kind of didn't go away.
You stayed there.
So I'm still here, and I think that, you know, this is maybe a trial through fire.
You weren't even nominated for Mask.
No.
Did that hurt you a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much killed me.
How do you feel now? Do you think that you will win an Academy Award for Best Actress? Will you be crushed if you don't?
Oh, maybe for a few minutes, but then I don't think I will be. I think that it's not enough to be nominated. I think that's both. You must win one time.
Have you given any thought at all to what you will say if you win?
Oh, all the time, every day in the shower.
Listen, you may not say it now.
No, I know, but I mean, no, it's always a different thing. It's like, I want to thank everybody. I don't want to thank anybody. I mean, I just go, you know, I just like, my mind is, you know, runs rampant in the shower. Like when I'm holding the soap, I'm always deciding what I'm going to say. And then I think, well, and if I don't, it'll be a fun night too. I'll look good. I'll see lots of people. It'll be really exciting. You know, it'll be a good time.
What are you going to wear?
I'm going to wear a really beautiful black net, very skimpy to look at, but to the floor,
gown that Bob has designed.
Bob Mackey.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he had designed this beautiful little, what he called wrap to go over it. And I said, no, I don't want a wrap. I want a black leather jacket, and I want you to beat it exactly. I want a black motorcycle jacket, and I want you to beat it exactly as my dress. Can you do that? And he kind of gulped, and he said, well, that's very interesting, Cher. And I could tell, his face fell to the floor. He said, well, I think if that's what you want, I could probably do that. I said, well, that's what I want.
Is that your big compromise?
That's my
beautiful dress and the black leather jacket?
Well, because I feel that that's kind of me. I really believe that that's who I am. I mean, I know what's appropriate, but appropriate to me seems very misplaced in our society. It's like, I believe that if you look at, let's say, the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart, or if you look at Ronald Reagan, or if you look at all of these people who are supposed to be the pillars of our society, and if you look at the way they dress, well, they dress very appropriate, but I question their interiors. And I don't question my interior. My exterior is unimportant.
Will you take this jacket off and show the dress?
If I win.
When you did the David Letterman show, you sang with Sonny.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel that night that it kind of washed away a lot of the past feelings? I mean, for most of us, it was so nostalgic.
Well, I'll tell you something, that the electricity in that room that night was unbelievable. And I was really just having a good time. And I can forgive Sonny anything when we're working together, because we did have a great time together. But I think Sonny and my relationship is the absolute definition of the love-hate relationship.
Still?
Absolutely, because there are things with Sonny that I'm kind of taking my whole life to get over.
Tell me about Robert. I've read so much about him, and some of it's true and some of it's not. So you tell me.
Oh, Robert is just the most honest person. I really depend on him a lot. He has very working class morals and ideals and judgments about things, and I really like that about him.
If I were with a man who was a lot younger.
18 years.
18 years. It would make me feel very old and insecure. Now,
I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have things to talk about?
Yeah, we talk constantly about things.
But he was a year old when you were with Sonny. I mean, that whole
He was born the year that I went out on the road. We've discussed this, more than you've thought about it. But it doesn't seem to be a problem because the things that we talk about are timeless things.
Would you mind having to provide for Robert?
It wouldn't bother me, but it would bother him.
Is the fact that you're so successful, that you've got the money, that he doesn't that get in the way?
Well, he continues to work.
What does he do?
He's a bartender. And also he takes acting class, and...
So he wants to be an actor. He is an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing you keep reading is he's a bagel maker.
When I met him, he made bagels. And then he was a doorman. And then he went from a doorman to being a bartender. And I wouldn't care if he was a street sweeper. I watched him, he has this idea that whatever you do, if you do it well, that's all that's important. And I have the same feeling about life. I believe that we've taken people's dignities away from them by saying he's only a janitor or he's only a bus driver. And so people can't feel as proud as they used to about a job well done today. And I think that's a mistake in our country.
What does he give you?
I don't know what it is, but when you said that, my first reaction was to say everything. So whatever it is that I need, he gives me it.
Do you want to have another child?
Yeah, I would like to. But I had such a rough time with Elijah. I was in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on machines and all that stuff. And I had a hard time with Chastity. I mean, I had to stay in my house with Chastity the entire time. In that area, I'm not very strong, so I don't know right now if I could do it. But, I would love to have a baby.
Do you think of marrying him?
Yes. He doesn't want to get married.
You would marry him if you would?
Yeah, I think I probably would. Of course, if he said that he wanted to get married, I probably would, pass out. But I couldn't think of enjoying my life with anyone else more.
Do you worry about being 60 when he's what? I do the arithmetic, you know, like.
Well, I'm dyslexic, so you're not going to get that answer from me. But I'm a lot older. I don't worry about those kinds of things because I have the immediacy of what's happening to me today to worry about, and not what will happen in 20 years.
Cher, very few people know that you're dyslexic.
Yes.
That is a learning disability. How did that shape you? What did that do to you?
I tell you something, it's a little bit difficult because you have the feeling that you're really stupid. I learned almost everything I learned by hearing it in the classroom because I'm a much better reader now. I read very slowly, but also dyslexia is very interesting. It's like having a stroke because other parts of your brain click in. I can see something once and know it, you know, but I have such a hard time dialing the telephone. It drives me nuts. Long distance is like a nightmare. Or if you tell me a number is 727, I'll write 272. Numbers and I don't get along well at all.
When did you know it wasn't you, that you weren't a dumb kid?
Because Chastity has it, and when I took her to be, you know, when they went to study her, I found out that, you know, they asked me if I had it, and I said, well, I really don't know, and they started asking me questions, and I realized that I did.
You didn't know until you were an adult?
No. It's very uncomfortable feeling, though, because you know you're not stupid, but there are so many things that you can't do. Robert and I, the only fight we've ever gotten into was him trying to teach me to read a foreign clock, where it says 1,800 hours. I had such a hard time with it. I had it in my car, and I couldn't read the stupid thing. And he kept saying, Cher, you're so smart. You're just not trying. And it triggered all of my teachers saying, you're so smart, you're just lazy. Yeah. And it hurt me. Ooh, I got really angry.
Do you care what people think of you? Do other people's opinions matter?
They matter in a certain respect, but they don't matter as much as what I think of me. Because I remember a time where people thought I was fabulous and I didn't think much of myself and I knew better, you know? So that it hurts me if people don't like me, or if it hurts me if people don't understand what I'm doing and they're angry with it. But after all, this is my one and only life. It's not a dress rehearsal for anything else. This is the only one I know about. And it's more important to me what I think of me than what other people think of me.
What do you think of you?
I think I'm becoming a better person. I'm trying to work on being able to handle situations without being overly tough, you know? In my family, there's never really been a man. There's never been a man growing up. There was never a man really bringing up my own children. So it's kind of difficult to take on the man's role without having some of the characteristics of the man. So I have to always keep that in perspective.
What frightens you, personally or professionally?
Professionally, I guess not being wanted. I've gone through that and it didn't feel good. You know, I've gone through the parts where people make jokes about you and you're on the out list, and I hate those out lists. I said I've been in and out so many times I feel like I'm in a revolving door. I mean, you are who you are, and so that bothers me. But I guess I could live with being out once again. And personally, that I won't live my life as good as I know it could be lived. That I'll be stupid and not have guts and integrity and make choices that are safe.
You always answer questions honestly. You answer anything that anybody asks you.
Unless I tell them it's none of their business.
Okay.
I mean, those are my only two things.
But pretty much you do.
Yes.
Why?
First of all, because I don't like lying. I can't tolerate it in others, and I don't want to do it myself. I just don't like it, and I don't think that there's any worth in it. And also, I don't care what people think about my answers, basically. I am not being rebellious so that I can make everyone else shocked. I'm questioning what is right in life so that I can make a better life for myself. And I would hope that my choices would please everyone, but I can't make my choices to please everyone. I have to please myself.
4 years ago, Scott was lying in this hospital suffering from a heart attack. Since then, his doctor prescribed a regimen of exercise, the right foods, and a Bayer aspirin a day. Studies show aspirin helps reduce the risk of heart attacks. Ask your doctor how Bayer may help you. Not long ago, Scott had a heart attack. Today, he had a son. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders. World driving champion Jackie Stewart demonstrates how Scorpio offers all the performance you expect from a German touring sedan. Now, Jackie demonstrates one way Scorpio performs like no other German touring sedan. Scorpio, German performance you can be comfortable with. At select Lincoln Mercury dealers.
I have a friend who says, if only I had such nice blonde hair. You can. She says, if only I had hair with such life. You can. With Preference by L'Oreal. Preference color is translucent with subtle shadings. And you do want your hair to be healthy looking. Well, that's the Preference difference. So, Angela, don't tell me you can't. Just repeat after me. I'm worth it. Feel better?
Performing Preference from L'Oreal.
The first thing I read in the paper are the comics. When America's youth wants to know,
Do I have any tattoos?
nothing is off limits.
And I kissed her and she didn't resist.
Conversations with the presidents.
Are there, ghosts in the White House?
Saturday night.
The Barbara Walters Special, brought to you by L'Oreal Performing Preference and L'Oreal Visuel Invisible Coverage Makeup. And Glorious by Gloria Vanderbilt.